So a little while ago, I was having a chat with a gamer in the ESO U Discord in the Crafting and Economy channel. This player said that they were a very casual player and that they were looking to make a whole bunch of gold in ESO, so they asked for some suggestions. Some ESO U enjoyers responded with the kinds of answers that you might expect. Do your daily crafting writs. Sell carries. Okay, that's not very casual player friendly. Come on. Sell some crowns. Guys, I wrote a fucking novel the way I normally do anytime someone asks a simple question. But after conversing with them for a bit, I came to realize that there was another, far more prominent roadblock that was in the way of this gamer's path to riches. An impediment that was far more of a hindrance than the notion of being a casual, because honestly, you can make some bank as a casual player. The thing was, they didn't have an ESO Plus subscription. Now, something that us ESO Plus enthusiasts might forget about the free-to-play enjoyers' gaming experience is that their inventory is f***ed. I mean, shit, I struggle as it is to manage my inventory with ESO Plus, not to mention a bunch of storage homes and characters whose only purpose in life is to serve as my pack mule. Do recall that those that play without this premium membership have less inventory space, 50% less bank space, housing storage, and most notably, no craft bag. A lot of really optimal gold farming or gold making methods heavily rely on trading and likewise having ample storage space. Have you ever tried farming mats with your craft bag turned off? Holy! Crafting without a craft bag is also very tricky because the mats needed to create, trade, and upgrade gear all require a lot of inventory space. Even flipping items, whether those items are luxury furnishings from the luxury vendor, motifs and style pages that you've received or purchased from ESO events, or items that you bought from a silly goose that listed them for lower than they were worth, is but another activity that requires ample storage space. Besides having a gimped inventory, not having ESO Plus also means that you don't have access to DLCs, unless you purchase them. And this player in ESO U had not purchased them. Zone DLCs account for a whole bunch of other casual gold making methods, such as farming daily quests for valuable motifs, style pages and furnishing plans, smacking world events for more valuable goods, selling gear and other furnishing plans that are specific to the zone, and seeking out DLC treasure maps that can drop leads for super valuable motifs. Dungeon DLCs are also great moneymakers since they drop DLC motifs and occasionally super rare monster mask style pages when the corresponding dungeon arms pack is in the crown store. So to bring this all back to that one conversation in ESO U, when pressed for good gold making suggestions given all of these parameters, I found myself struggling to immediately come up with any. All of my go-to recommendations heavily relied on having an ESO Plus subscription, and I hadn't really realized this before. I'm also not one to really recommend gold farming strategies that don't revolve around trading. I believe that the game-generated gold sources, such as farming public dungeon ads or basic antiquities for peasant change, is not a very viable gold farming strategy given the state of the ESO economy, what with the prices of everything constantly increasing, while game-generated sources of gold revenue remain the same, and relatively low at that. So, is there no hope for non-ESO Plus Andes? Are they destined to remain poor or resort to selling ERP at the local tavern just to get by? No, not necessarily. No, but for real, it's not the end of the world. You can definitely still make a solid amount of gold without a Plus subscription and as a casual player and without any DLCs or chapters. It's certainly a more difficult endeavor, but it isn't impossible. Now, how comfortable you may be with your inventory space as a player that does not have ESO Plus really depends on how you prefer to play. The more casual you are, the more potential inventory space you may have, since your inventory slots won't be taken up by a bunch of sets or consumables. For example, very casual players without ESO Plus may have more luck doing crafting writs than sweaty PvPers like my friend Drakar, who absolutely is not capable of doing writs because his inventory is full of PvP sets. So in this guide, I will stick to methods that should apply to everyone that doesn't have an ESO Plus subscription. which means that I will omit suggestions such as crafting dailies or any other endeavor that relies significantly on having a fair amount of storage space. Alright, without further ado, let's get into what I believe are some of the best ways to earn gold without an ESO Plus subscription. Participating in player versus player content is the first activity that comes to mind when I think of ways to earn gold that are accessible to all and that do not require ample inventory space. The two PvP currencies are Alliance Points and Telvar. You can receive these currencies from partaking in the activities outlined below. The nice thing about these currencies is that, because they are currencies, they do not take up any space in your inventory. All PvP zones are also part of the base game, so you don't need to pay for a subscription or for any DLCs to access them. You can then take your PvP currencies and convert them into gold by purchasing a handful of PvP currency exclusive items. I'll include a couple suggestions on the screen. Whenever you're in need of some cash, you can take your AP or your Telvar from the bank, buy your preferred items, and then sell these items on your traders or in zone chat to willing buyers for plenty of gold. Now, to be fair, PvP has a bit of a steep learning curve. It is very different from the kind of casual combat experiences that you may endure as a casual player. So I could see how some may argue that PvP is not a casual activity. To that, I would argue that being very good at PvP definitely takes a lot of time and research and dedication. And in that sense, it isn't a very casual activity, but it's definitely possible to still partake in PvP casually, if that makes sense. You don't have to be a sweaty 1vxer spending more time humping a keep tower than your own girlfriend, okay? Or in a ball group whose comms on Discord sound like, Man, shut the f. In fact, most of the big AP gains come from being a casual Zergling and focusing on playing the map instead of killing the same 3 AD pugs that are trying to leave the keep 500 times for a total of 1 AP per kill. So if you're a casual player, go ahead, become a casual PvPer. Embrace the Zerg. There's lots of AP to be earned from capturing keeps and resources, and there's lots of Telvar to be earned from killing mobs in IC. I host a casual Zerg night once a week with my community guild. There are absolutely no requirements to join. You could show up naked to it if you'd like. Please don't actually. And we can usually get at least 100k AP, if not more, per outing. It's a very casual and fun outing, and I know we aren't the only guild that has events like these, so keep an eye out for them in your own guilds. Or consider Xing up in zone chat with a large group that you can tag along with. On weekends, during prime time especially, just about every faction tends to Zerg one another, so you'll have no problem fitting right in among all the chaos. If open world PvP is not your thing, battlegrounds are also a great option for AP gains. There is an MMR system, and while it isn't very ideal, it can put you in matches with other players that are of the same skill set as you, so that you don't get rolled every single match. I recommend the following ESO YouTubers to help you put together a build if you're interested in increasing your chances of staying alive out there. But don't feel bad if you struggle. As cliche as it sounds, what's more important is that you're having a good time out there. I know that a lot of more casual players tend to get upset when they do die, and sometimes they'll accuse their opponents of hacking or cheating or what have you, so I really want to dissuade you from falling into that trap. I do recommend PvPing with friends or guildies if you'd like to approach this activity casually and have a fun time while doing so. There's definitely a lot of gold to be earned from PvP. Okay, let's bring it back to PvE. I mentioned earlier that Monster Mask style pages have a very slim chance of dropping upon defeating the final boss of the dungeon whose corresponding arms pack is available in the Crown store. The corresponding shoulder style page will also have a marginal chance of dropping from the Undaunted RNG coffer that its gear counterpart comes from. For example, at the moment, the prior Theoric arms pack is in the Crown store.
Oh, he's got the LGBT lights. It's RGB, motherfucker.
This means that the prior Theoric mask style page has a chance to drop from defeating him on the veteran or veteran hard mode difficulty. It also means that the prior Theoric shoulder has a chance to drop from a Waking Flame coffer, or from Urgalag's mystery coffer. Now granted, prior Theoric is a final boss in the dungeon Red Petal Bastion, which is a DLC dungeon. However, occasionally, the featured monster arms pack and likewise the corresponding mask and shoulder style pages are all related to a base game dungeon. Thus, farming the dungeon with friends is a pretty reasonable way to receive some gold. You can deconstruct any gear that you get as you spam the dungeon for materials that you can then list right away on your traders if you don't have the inventory space to hang on to these items. And you may potentially receive a very valuable monster style page while you're at it. Some of the base game mask style pages from years ago are worth several millions now. The longer you hang on to these pages, the more they'll be worth, until Zos reintroduces them into the game randomly. This is an activity that I used to do pretty often with friends. I'd hop in a VC and just get to farming, so it's a pretty fun and casual activity, I would say. You can also use your Undaunted keys to try your luck at receiving style pages for the shoulders that correspond with the arms pack or packs that are in the Crown store. Just make sure you're opening the correct coffers. You can also just outright purchase these shoulder style pages if you've got a bunch of keys handy. Alright, now we're really getting into the casual territory. While non-ESO Plus players that also coincidentally do not own the Greymoor chapter will not be able to scry or excavate motif leads that have a chance to drop from maps, that does not mean that these maps should go to waste. A lot of maps, especially DLC ones, are worth a pretty penny, so don't be like this fool and accidentally list a map worth hundreds of thousands for just a few hundred. Here are the maps that are the most valuable, given the fact that the motifs that have a chance to drop from them are worth the most. If you do have access to the Greymoor chapter, then you might want to consider seeking out these treasure map chests in the event that you do get a motif lead. Even some of those base game motif leads are no joke, man. Thanks to the curated drop system, you can deliberately tailor your overland drops to give you the exact item that you're looking for. You can utilize this to your advantage by deliberately refusing to bind a certain piece of gear from a certain set. That way, when you farm the corresponding entity that drops the gear that you're looking for, you can increase your chances of getting that piece of gear. For example, Spriggan's Mauls sell for a decent amount of gold, especially when they're in the ideal trait. If you do not have a Spriggan's Maul bound and have most or all of the other Bankarai sets collected, you can farm Spriggan's Mauls relatively easily by killing world bosses over and over again. If you'd like to partake in something even more casual that doesn't involve any combat, you can even farm chests in base game locations for more valuable gear. I've got a few chest routes up on my channel from ages ago before I really took content creation seriously, so my voice sounded like this, but maybe they can help you in that regard. While the act of stealing crap itself isn't the most ideal gold farming method, given the fact that most stolen goods are only worth a couple hundred gold at most, and you can only sell so many stolen treasures to the fence per day, it's more the additional things that you can get from stealing that will make your time even more worthwhile. If you have access to DLCs that were given out for free in the past, such as Murkmire or Deadlands, then definitely prioritize stealing in those areas first and foremost, as the furnishing plans that can drop from them are worth a whole lot. But if you only have access to the base game zones, then I recommend stealing in Vardenfell. ESO's first DLC, Morrowind, is now free for all ESO players, so you should all have access to Vardenfell. Stealing in Vardenfell is ideal because you have a chance to receive motifs from some of the different houses, as well as Velothi and Vardenfell paintings from the strongboxes. It's worth mentioning that the following NPCs in the world also have a very rare chance of dropping the following items that can be sold on the traders for even more gold. Whatever you do, just try not to get caught, yeah? Events occur in ESO fairly frequently, and a majority of them follow more or less the same structure: complete some task and receive an event-exclusive reward box for your efforts. These event-exclusive reward boxes often have the chance to drop very valuable items, such as style pages, recipes, motifs, memento fragments, and more. By participating in events whenever you get the chance to, you'll find that you'll accumulate a reasonable amount of rewards that can be sold for some quick cash in the moment, or held onto to sell as their prices increase over time. While a lot of ESO events tend to take place in DLC zones as a means to advertise the zone in question to the player base, there are a handful of events that are very accessible to the free-to-play crowd, such as holiday events or White Streaks Mayhem, just to name a few. I'd like to conclude this list by saying that there are a lot of means to earn gold passively, meaning you can actively partake in an activity that you enjoy in ESO while passively earning gold on the side, as opposed to actively farming for gold, if that makes sense. I do have an older video that further discusses this notion, but in short, it may be worthwhile to adapt this kind of mentality where you optimize your earnings by passively doing certain things while you play. Some examples are looting containers that may contain valuable items in them while you are in the middle of questing, or deconning unwanted gear and jewels after an hour of running dungeons or dolmens with the boys for materials to sell. Sure, you won't be able to hang on to as many items as the players that have an ESO Plus subscription, but that doesn't mean that you should pass up the opportunity to receive these items in the first place. They can still be sold on your traders for a bit of cash. By taking that extra little bit of time to be mindful of the value of the items that you receive while you play the way you prefer, I think you'll find that you'll have the most fun while earning gold in this game. Alright, those are a few of what I believe to be the best gold earning methods for players that prefer to play the game casually and do not have access to ESO Plus and the many benefits that it brings. While ESO Plus can make the process of earning gold in ESO far more convenient, it is absolutely not necessary to do so. Be sure to take advantage of the occasional free ESO Plus events that crop up every once in a while to check out all of the other gold earning strategies that are made available. A fair amount of the videos on my channel actually detail these strategies if you'd like to learn more about them. Do you play ESO without ESO Plus? If so, what's your preferred gold making method, if you have one that is? Feel free to let us know about it in the comments so that other free-to-play gamers can peruse them and find one that suits them best. And that's all for today's video. I'd like to thank my amazing YouTube members for supporting this content, and of course, all of you for watching. I will see you all in the next one. Cheers.